everybody, and welcome back to my channel. And today I'm going to be talking about a Yahoo lifestyle article named "What Was It Like Going to School Without Knowing I Was on the Autistic Spectrum?" And for me, this is a really prominent article. It's something that happened to me. I wasn't diagnosed until after I left college, so I can relate to this article very, very well. And it says, if you had to explain autism to a child, what would you say? How would you make them understand? So for that first question, I would say it's a different way of processing and thinking and seeing the world. It's a way of discovering who you are and your identity. How would you define the word autism? So I would define it as a special ability. I would say that it's a gift. It's a blessing that we are able to see the world in a different way. And the article goes on to say, autism affects children and adults who have difficulty within social interaction and exhibit a restricted range of interests and or repetitive behaviour. That's true to an extent, but not all of us on the autistic spectrum do that. So again, that's not kind of accurate. Nobody understands what a person is thinking. Professionals could work for years in their field and not know how a person thinks or why a person does what they do. All the signs could be there, but we would never fully understand why we do what we do. Again, this is because they don't understand autistic behaviour, the autistic stereotypes, traits that happen within the autistic spectrum. And then the article goes on to say that the lady wasn't diagnosed with her Asperger's syndrome until she was 23 years old, and she wished she'd known about it sooner. I can totally relate to this. As someone with autism spectrum disorder, I wasn't diagnosed until 25. And I'm now nearly 32 years of age, so I wish I was diagnosed back in my school days, something that I could have adjusted to. I could have had a more easier life and fitted in better if I was diagnosed back within the educational system. And then it goes on to say, if I knew back then what was going on, maybe I would have taught to handle things better. Oh, the things I wish that I knew back then. I agree with her to some part, because it's something that we both wish we could deal with better. We wish we would have more respect and time, and also more support dealing with autism, because it is a very complicated topic in general to talk about. And the teachers at my time never understood my behaviours, and yet never understood why I was different, or why I got sensory overloaded, or why I had a lot of emotional anxiety problems and got easily bullied and picked on, especially by people who I thought were my friends, and also my own cousin, who bullied me for 3 years of my high school life. So yeah, they don't really understand what autism is or how to help students within that kind of issue. So again, it's due to non-communication and lack of understanding. And it goes on to say, I had moments in school you knew that there was something plainly wrong, but you just couldn't figure out what it was. It was the little things that I did or said that made people know that there was something off about me. Yes, my friends and family did realise there was things off about me. They realised that I wasn't able to do the things that a normal teenager or young lady should have been able to do back at that time. There was things that I probably said that would have offended someone, or made them feel uneasy around me, or they struggled to communicate period with me, because they thought that I was being deliberately disruptive or awkward or inappropriate, or thought I was trying to cause an argument when I actually wasn't. It's because I was overloaded and didn't know how to deal with it. And then it goes on to say, some subjects were harder than others, and teachers would say things that would get mixed up in my head. I always got A's and B's in school, whereas obviously I didn't. This lady did. I got quite a lot of C's, D's, a couple of E's, because I struggled with the processing of the questions. I wouldn't know to research them beforehand or think about it. I just turned up on the day hoping that I would do well with the tests, and that never worked for me in some degree. She says, I would always know the answers, but once I started getting tests on it, I would just freeze and close up. I can relate to that, because when the teacher is asking you questions and they're asking you about a certain topic, or if it's a math question or English question, or if it's a question about languages, and then you sit and go, what do I do? And the teacher starts looking at you as if like they want you to answer and respond to it. It can be very difficult, because you just kind of get sensory overwhelmed and shut down. And they're like, oh, well, we need an answer kind of thing. And you like just kind of sort of look at them and go, well, I don't know what to do. And again, I face this every day with school. I would go to school being overwhelmed every day. I would be worried about getting bullied, picked on, isolated, judged, because I knew I was different. I knew I had something different that no one else had, and I had to try and adapt to a school that didn't fit me and didn't really accept me. And then the lady goes on to say, it took me 8 years and 15 tries to get my learner's permit to drive. For me, I don't really drive, so I can't really relate to that statement, but what I'll do is I'll go over the page and read what else she says about it. And she says, getting more advanced, I did what I could. I was still a good student, but I think my high school teachers had their suspicions. Whereas to me, yes and no in part to that question, because my teachers did realise that there was something wrong with me. They did realise that I was acting odd, or a lot of the time I'd walk out my lessons because I got overwhelmed and overstressed, and a lot of the bullies would throw things at me, make me feel isolated, and make me feel like I was unworthy to be in the classroom, or I would just get so upset and angry that I would flip out and not want to be around them because of the stress and emotional upset they were causing me. Then she goes on to say, some of the teachers were kind enough to make classes easier for me to understand, but in all the other classes I caught on fairly quickly. If there was a subject that I liked being involved in or being creative, like film or theatre, I felt like I belonged because there are people who were as creative as me, and we were able to work together and create something that we were proud of. True, some of my teachers did create a lot of the classes to become easier for me. They did try their best to include me and make sure that I was able to keep up with the rest of the class, make sure that I was able to catch up on my work, and a lot of things like languages I was good at. I was very high functionable. I was very, very intelligent with languages. I was able to demonstrate a good basic conversation. And then she goes on to say, but math was a total tough subject for me. I would always confuse the division and multiplication signs in my head. Oh, isn't that the truth? I used to do that all the time. I hated maths with a passion. It's something I just couldn't get my head around, couldn't focus on it. But this one's always looked the same. I always failed math twice. I was put into a math class that was easy to understand. I was allowed to use a calculator. Yes, I can relate to that too, because I would struggle with adding up and taking away. I'd struggle with dividing. It just all jumped into a sort of muddly puddle kind of thing where I just got completely overwhelmed, confused, and struggled to know what it was like to cope with big numbers and trying to add and subtract from classes. I was also in speech therapy until about grade 4. I would leave class once a week and learn how to say certain sounds and letters. I did have speech therapy problems when I was younger. I had a lot of problems pronouncing things like spaghetti and sausages because I had problems with my tonsils and adenoids, and I struggled to communicate clearly. So I can kind of understand where she's coming from in that. Still today, I do muck up my communication. I do still struggle with what's being said and how to relate to people. And she also goes on to say, I mumble my words or I talk a little bit too fast. When telling a story, I just want to get something out before I forget. If I have something written down beforehand, I can rehearse it before saying it out loud, so I can make sure the words are clearly and well initiated. On occasions, it takes me a couple of seconds for my brain to tell my mouth to say something. That's true, my brain does have a delay. I have a 6-second delay due to sensory processing disorder, and it's part of my autism. It's something that I really do struggle with a lot, and it does make me highly anxious and upset at times because I can't get my words out quick enough to discuss what I want to talk about. And she also goes on to say, I always enjoyed school. I love to learn. I still love learning about things. I always looked at my brain as a sponge, soaking up all the information and restoring it. I have so much information about all the different topics. Sometimes it's hard to keep it all wrapped in. So many ideas with so little time. My brain is filled with other information that people simply wouldn't care about. That's true with me as well, because I simply store too much information. I struggle to keep it all locked in my head because I want it to come pouring out so that you guys get to know me as well as what I want to talk about and discuss. Sometimes knowing too much can turn people off, but it's my way of having a simple conversation. I'll talk to whoever is listening. I have a habit of repeating myself because I feel people don't listen to me, so I keep saying the same thing over and over again until someone reacts. I was able to graduate high school. This lady graduated in 2006. I graduated in 2005. But sometimes I wish I was diagnosed with autism back then. I agree too. But I guess that everything happens to a reason. Exactly, everything happens for a reason in time, and it happens to us when we least expect it. I think now, being later diagnosed, it's given me a passion, a calling, a future. It's given me something to educate others about, and yeah, I totally relate to this article. I think it's very well worded. I hope you've enjoyed listening to me. Please like, comment, share and subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye!